Good morning. Karibu sana to Daybreak. It's now 23 minutes to what time? To 7 o'clock. And my name is Sam Gituku. Just in time for the discussion on the latest in the political world. We have one speaker, John Kagusha from Nyeri County. Good morning, Speaker. We're also expecting to be joined by Caleb Kositanye, who is the Member of Parliament for Soy constituency. We're expecting Senator Mithika Linturi and Senator Juan Moses Kajwang from Homa Bay County. They'll be joining the conversation. But as we do so, we begin with the main stories on the two dailies. And you'll see that on the front page of the Daily Nation, Uhuru owes me nothing. This is according to the Deputy President, who says that I'm defending the Jubilee track record from whichever place because we're elected jointly with President Kenyatta and have that debt to pay. Of course, the politics of debt. There is statement coming after that statement by one President Kenyatta saying that he does not owe anyone a political debt. We'll be looking at some of those voices later on. Then on the front page of the Standard, you'll see that it appears like a day where the political bigwigs were crisscrossing the country. One, Gideon Moi, was in Garissa County where he was drumming up support for BBI. Then you have President Kenyatta was in Sagana for the weekend. Deputy President William Ruto was also somewhere talking about the Hustler Nation narrative, which is centered around disadvantaged Kenyans. He has shown lukewarm support for BBI, pitting him against the president. And then one, Raila Odinga, met youth leaders in Vihiga County, where he drummed up support for BBI and faulted the Hustler narrative. And Speaker, just before you get into the details of what the events of the weekend are telling us, when you look at the dailies, talking of debt, talking of BBI, you will see that the two gentlemen, President Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, of course, are speaking against the Hustler narrative, but the Deputy President himself is speaking against the BBI. What are you reading this morning?
Yeah, I see that the top two leaders in Kenya, the President and the Deputy President, are now going bare knuckle, and the gloves are off, and it's becoming hard political game now, and it's also what we'd call high-stakes game. And I don't know, as Kenyans, we might now be facing these very tough and hard political times for the next 1 year and a few months. And this is not going to be very easy for us, because if you remember, we have enjoyed a very good period of political sanity, and we have not had serious turbulence in politics in Kenya for some time now. But now we are getting again into that season. And the challenge with this is that it has the likelihood of raising temperatures, emotions. It has the likelihood of dissuading Kenyans from engaging in active work and business that they engage in on a daily basis. It has a way of also bringing down our economy, which is already slowed down by the challenges that we are facing as a country. And Kenyans would have wished that the top two leaders in Kenya do talk from the same page and engage soberly and with civility. And of course, we drive this country towards more unity. But it seems like we've been looking for elusive unity as a country, because just when we thought we are now well united and we are working together, it seems like we are yet too far from our goal and from our aspiration as a country. And one would have wished that this was coming in April of 2022 and not in January 2021. That is rather too far. We have so many more months to go before we can get to 2022 August, and we face the main elections. But we seem to have gone now into a full-blown political contest.
But who is responsible? Is it the Kenyan himself or the leaders on the front pages of the dailies themselves?
It is with the leaders. We are the ones who raise these temperatures as the leaders are gearing up towards preparation for the next general election and transfer of power. And of course, there is being a transition year where the president himself doesn't look like he is ready to allow the transition to happen without his input. And other political players seem to be much dependent on that transition, where the president is an active player. And quite a number of politicians seem to be very, very much dependent on that. And others who want to chart their own path without His Excellency the President in terms of his support, whether because they do not want or whether because they have been shown indications by him that he is not going to be supporting them. So you have those two lineups which are all gearing up for takeover in 2022. But
right.
The only problem is that this has happened rather too early than what would have been expected. And that then is what puts our country into a quagmire, if I would say. And it is what is going to slow down our economy to a great extent. And so we would want to still call if we can have a cessation of hostilities, if I was to use the terms which I used more in conflict resolution, if we would cease the hostilities and slow down the political contest and you know, be a little bit more sober and re-engage and rethink on how to be more cooperative. And unlike many Kenyans probably who think that all is done between His Excellency the President and the Deputy, I still believe that there's still an opportunity for them to re-engage, to rethink, and to see how they can be able to still come together and finish their term before we actively engage in politics or political context as we are now looking as a country.
Speaker Kagusha, one might say that you're too ambitious to even give such a statement some 17 months to the election, bearing in mind what has been spoken about over the weekend. But we'll get to that conversation later on. I want us first to look at the progress of the BBI constitutional amendments and to listen to the leaders that spoke over the weekend about this before we move on.
Youth empowerment. That's why we are creating a youth development fund in the BBI, so that youth can be able to access capital and use that capital to be able to create wealth. And that capital must be cheap and affordable, accessible, affordable. So this is why we are saying you're going to get capital interest-free for 70 years.
And we cannot develop this country when we are telling our youth the only thing we can do for you is to give you wheelbarrows. Na unasema kazi ni kazi.
I want to support BBI, and I believe when the assembly opens next week, that will be the agenda.
Iko pesa ambayo zitafika Garissa tukipitisha BBI karibu utapata karibu 8 billion plus. Kwa hii 35%, na kwa hiyo 30 kwa 100, 30% kwa hiyo pesa itaenda kwa biashara ya vijana.
Tutakuwa kaunti ya kwanza ya kupitisha BBI katika Kenya hii. Tunapitisha tukifahamu ya kwamba hii BBI iko na manufaa mazito kwetu na kwa Wakenya wote.
We need to find a way of putting it to closure. And if the process has started in the counties and then it culminates in the referendum, let us put closure to it by making sure that that decision is dispensed with.
We know in Nairobi, our MCAs are ready to pass the BBI because Nairobi is the biggest beneficiary. You know, it's a big beneficiary of it in terms of representation, in terms of resources, and the challenges we've been having.
Hii 15% ya saa hizi imeshindikana kupatikana. Counties wapo na deni ya bilioni 100. Hiyo 35% mnasema itapatikana. Kama 15% imekuwa ngumu, kuna uganga gani itafanyika ndio 35% ipatikane?
All right, so those are different leaders, of course, those drumming up support for it, but then again, the Deputy President questioning the logic of raising the county allocation from 15% to 35% minimum. And joining this conversation is Senator Moses Kajwang from Homa Bay County. Good morning, Senator. And when you look at this, of course, this is the phase where the county assemblies are supposed to be receiving. They have already received this document. They're supposed to debate it and either approve or defeat within 3 months. But then again, there's still the confusion on message. What do you make of this stand? We see the political leaders, the national leaders, very busy campaigning for it. Is it all should be happening, or should we just give some space for the county assemblies to go ahead and debate this?
Thank you, Sam, and good morning. I'm taking this call from Homa Bay, so I might be darker than I am. The weekend has revealed the lines that exist in the BBI debate. Even though the Deputy President is hesitant to lead the No Brigade, he is doing everything possible to oppose the BBI draft. Every other significant political player, persons who lead parties, Raila Odinga, you're talking Gideon Moy, you're talking Musalia, you're talking Wetula, you're talking Kalonzo, all the political leaders have taken a position that the BBI draft proposal for constitutional review is a good thing. But unfortunately, the Deputy President is trying to support some fire resistance, particularly in certain parts of central Kenya and in Kenya. The unfortunate thing also is that this conversation is being reduced to the benefits or the losses that central Kenya is getting out of the BBI draft report. Now, there has been consensus, even from people like Kangata, that it is a central region that stands to gain the most, as opposed to other regions. And therefore, you start wondering why, if the reality is that we stand to gain most, and the leadership of that region would be so militant and be so adamant that the BBI report should not go through in that region. But the lines have been drawn. We are now seeing a situation where it is one against the rest of the world, where it is the Deputy President leading No Brigade and all the other significant leaders leading the drive to a yes. When we wanted an uncontested referendum. Of course, an uncontested referendum is a platonic idea, because a referendum must have at least two questions, yes and no. So a referendum must be contested, because you're putting out a question for issues to the people, issues that the people would agree with or disagree with. But as things stand, I can clearly see that we are moving towards a semi-uncontested referendum, because we can see the bulk of the political class and the bulk of the political is in agreement that the proposal in the BBI is what will bring about safety in our elections, is what will restructure our governance, is what will strengthen the coalition, and is what will lead to a prosperous Kenya. It is not the ideal solution to the problems that we face. It is not the silver bullet. It is the first amendment. And I think it is important that we get on with this first amendment, set the framework, and those issues that have been left out can be dealt with in subsequent constitutional amendments as the nation progresses.
Right, and Senator, we'll continue with this conversation, but just to introduce one Senator, Mithika Linturi, who is joining the conversation here in studio. Good morning, Senator, and I want us to listen to what President Kenyatta spoke about the future of the nation, and as far as to do with the changes that are being proposed in the BBI and what the future of the region, because Senator Kajwang there says that it appears, or people are saying that Mount Kenya region stands to benefit the most in the country from the BBI process. Is it true? Is it not?
Sehemu zingine ziwe zinakaa na ufukara na umaskini. Mambo haya lazima kwanza tuyarekebishe. Lakini ukiamini ya kwamba lazima utapewa na mtu, je, siku ile utapiga mlango ukose, utaenda kwa nani? Na ulipiga ule baba ama babu alikuwa nakusaidia hapo awali kwa sababu umepata baba mwingine.
So the president appears like he's seeking to secure the fortunes of the region. And I want to begin with you, Speaker Kagusha, because you were in one of those meetings, excuse me, I believe, but also we are being told that the members of county assemblies promised that they're going to approve the constitutional amendments contained in the BBI proposal. And I'm just wondering, because we are told that there was some sort of facilitation for them to do that they are going to get some grant. Is it car grant or what it is? I don't know what the details are. And then secondly, the notion that Mount Kenya region stands to benefit the most through the BBI process, whether it's in as far as the allocation to the devolved units, as well as the more constituencies, are you persuaded that that's the case?
Well, I think as Kenyans, we probably need to look at issues from a national perspective, not only from a regional perspective, and then probably in a I mean, we all need to look at what every other Kenyan is likely to gain from the BBI, as it were. And one of the things that has been marketed quite a lot in the BBI is about the 35% gain for the devolved units. And you see that 5% gain wouldn't be going to only the Mount Kenya region or only on central Kenya region. It's going to be, you know, across board. And probably what would be more favorable from what we have heard and seen is probably the formula which has been touted as more friendlier to more populous areas. And more populous areas would mean any other part of the country, not just the Mount Kenya region. And so I think from my perspective, we need to be looking at any process, whether BBI or otherwise, how it's likely to benefit all Kenyans at large, and how it's likely to take the resources much more to the grassroots as where the resources come from. When it comes to the issue of the members of county assembly, I am sure you are probably referring to the issue of the car grant. And I would want to talk for members of the county assembly, at least on this, being their speaker and the person who is supposed to also be looking at their welfare. And the issue of the car grant is not an issue of BBI. It's not an issue that came this weekend. It's not an issue that is new. Every other time that members of the county assembly have ever had an encounter with His Excellency the President, they have raised the issue of the car grant. It's much more of an issue of a historical injustice to the members of county assembly. And why is it important to them? It's because the members of county assembly, when they start their work, they are supposed to be facilitated. A person like a speaker, I am facilitated. A person like a member of parliament, they are facilitated. They get a car grant of 5,000 shillings. Any other person who is
5,000 or 5 million?
I mean, 5 million, that is. 5 million. Every other person who is serving the public at that capacity, including even senior government officers, they are facilitated in a way. If you look at members of county assembly, they are more or less glorified social workers, because they are people who engage with people on a daily basis. And most of them got the 2,000 loan, which they bought fielders and such kind of cars. But if you look at them now, we cut their salaries and pay that fielder. And as we are talking now, those fielders are gone. They are finished. They have been engaged in their work on the ground, those rough roads, the maram roads that they are putting. And as we are talking now, a member of county assembly is likely to exit their position without money and without the car. And that is why if you look at members of the county assembly who have served in the past, they are languishing in poverty. Most of them now operating border, others are selling cereals, others have been depressed. And that's why sometimes I say, yes, the members of county assembly need to look at the larger picture, the bigger picture of this country.
So
yes,
if indeed there's that historical injustice that you refer to, why is it coming up when they're needed? Because it appears like
it's actually not coming up now. I can tell you, because I'm not speaking for County Assemblies Forum, but I do have the history of this. And I know on 19th of November 2019, the chairman of County Assemblies Forum, Ndegwa Wahome, did write a memorandum to His Excellency the President, and this was after a very serious process of negotiating for members of County Assembly on this particular issue of car grant. And he did write, and that is 19th November of 2019. I'm privy to that memorandum, that memorandum that was done to His Excellency the President. And if you remember again, in the past, the same has come up again, actually in 2014, in 2016, when members of County Assembly had an encounter with the President. There was no BBI then. So members of County Assemblies have... No, okay, yeah, there was an encounter now between the members of county assemblies and the president, and you can imagine every time they meet any other senior government officer, when they are all together, members of county assembly are always concerned about that particular welfare. Because I think as members of county assembly are looking at the welfare of Kenyans, I think also as a country, it's also fair for us to look at the welfare of these members of county assembly who are serving.
All right, Speaker,
yeah.
But Senator Linturi, so now what do we do? Because there's that notion that the MCAs are being treated, quote unquote, so that they can endorse this BBI regardless of the merits and demerits of it. how do we shield the MCAs from this, what may appear like a benefit? And should it be subjected to Article 116? Is it 116 of the Constitution that talks of an act of parliament that confers the direct pecuniary interest of members of parliament shall not come into force until after the next general election of members of parliament? Should such a thing be used on MCAs based on Article 116?
And sorry, Sam, if you even further go and read the enabling statute on that one of the particular constitutional proviso in regard to the management of county government affairs, you will also find that transitant or that particular constitutional provision pertained to Section 25 of the County Governments Act to really emphasize what the Constitution has said, so that the County Assembly knows exactly that any legislation that they pass cannot benefit them unless the subsequent County Assembly. But to me, because I've been a leader in this country, I have interacted with the MCAs, and I know the great work they do for this country. To be honest, failure to give them a car grant has been completely discriminatory. Failure to facilitate them in the best way possible to enable them perform on their mandate is wrong. And you can't really work when you have no car. And so I feel them and I understand what they feel, and I associate myself with the sentiments of the Speaker. Because I have to be honest, my only problem in the whole arrangement is the timing. The timing to me is what is wrong, and this is what I would probably say is a direct bribe that the President is doing. And when the President is doing that, he's committing an electoral offense, because bribery in elections is an offense by itself. Yes, the members of the County Assembly require these vehicles, but you don't give them money for them to pass a BBI, which is expected naturally either to be voted for or against by the people on the understanding of what its merits and demerits as far as their lives are concerned. Number two, SRC, if my memory serves me right, as to get involved in ensuring that that makes that communication to the people or to the county assemblies or the beneficiaries of such a statement or such an arrangement. But you see now, SRC is one of the independent commissions or institutions which are supposed to address these issues. If, for example, SRC rise tomorrow, and the county assembly members have permanently engaged the president on the issue of car grants, because I even know one time in Mombasa, when they went to the county assemblies forum in Mombasa, the same was revisited and the president refused. Now, I cannot be persuaded by him that the promise or the commitment to give the members of the assembly a car grant is not intended to persuade them or to bribe them to vote for BBI, because the county assemblies must decide on this bill before it comes to the National Assembly and finally to the Senate. To me, it's an electoral offense that the president is committing, is bribing people, and he needs to completely, with a lot of respect, be able to live within the law.
Is it true, before we go to Caleb Kositany, is it true that the BBI benefits are more to the Mount Kenya region?
Depends in what the context that you are looking at it, because to me, there is so much fallacy in that statement. Giving a country extra members of parliament to me is not benefit. Because why? The people of Mount Kenya require money in their pockets. You require to ensure there is an enabling environment for people to do business, make money, and then pay for their normal expenses in life. So what the catch one that they are using here is to convince the people in the mountain is that we have extra constituencies. By the way, what we are also not being told, an extra member of parliament coming in will only come in with some bit of CNDF, a CNDF package. And by the way, even when the first BBI report was read in Bomas, the idea of the 70 extra members of parliament was a nomination. It is after the push that we started talking about consensus, right, that this was changed so that an extra constituency will be created in those areas that were underrepresented so that members of the public would elect their leader. So let them tell us, and I want to be honest, it is not cheap to maintain a member of parliament. A member of parliament is so expensive. Look at his package. Look at his other extra benefits. Look at his grant of the 5 million. Look at the security. It's too much. So when you want to cheat that an extra member of parliament makes so much meaning, to me it doesn't. Look at the National Assembly today. Well, I became a member of parliament when parliament had only 210 members. 210 in this country. The vibrancy, the maturity in debate and the time a member would take to contribute to a matter on the floor, and you wouldn't get time to listen to the sense that one was bringing, or the wisdom in that man's contribution of when it's a particular bill. But look at today, people have become voting machines. I am even surprised because when you bring us some more people, honestly, that will be a public rally. People cannot reason. Look at how work in committees is being done. Work in committees is a committee consists of over 20, 30 people. When I first went to Parliament, we had 11 members, and I chaired the Public Investments Committee. And Parliament and members of integrity. I remember sitting and chairing PIIC during President Kibaki's era, other than the 16th Parliament Committee report, PIC. I indicted 4 sitting ministers during Kibaki's time. And I was accused before him, and the president and myself, and explained that his ministers were corrupt, and his ministers had been involved in economic crime, in ripping this country. And what the Ngresiasm there, that we shall have a mistold me, is Linturi, if you have the evidence, please continue your work. We know you are one of the people that will save this country. Look at what is happening in committees today. Committees, people are being controlled. That time, committees used to elect their own chairman. Today, people are given positions from State House. Today, people, whenever there is a serious matter of public concern in committees, they are told this is how you must write a report. This is not the country that we want. That is not the oversight role that was required of by Parliament. Has been accepted by the executive. So to me, handing an extra member of Parliament is just trying to bring other people to crown Parliament, where business will not even be done. You will not have to use the space available for members to contribute will not be there, but we are trying to get a gang or a team that only will be imbuing people that are opposed to opinions, other than persuading people by what they believe and the evidence in ensuring that this country has proper oversight. And that is why the oversight role of Parliament, and Parliament is dead.
Wow, Parliament is dead. I don't know whether Caleb Kosita and you feel the same. Good morning, and thank you for joining the conversation. This is the Member of Parliament for Soy. Is Parliament dead? And of course, as we talk about the next phase of action, which is at the county assembly, so what are you making of this discussion about the car grant from MCAs and what should happen in the 3 months that assemblies have?
Well, thank you, Sam. Good morning. Sorry for the technical issues we had in the morning. I think, Sam, this car grant issue for the MCAs has become a tool that has always been used to get the MCAs to vote in a certain manner on very important issues. And as my colleague, Honorable Inturi, has just said, yes, the MCA serves car grants. They are on the ground more than any other person handling issues within their wards. Some of them very, very, very massive in terms of landmass and population. And the road terrain is not as good as would be for the small cars that they can afford with the loans that they get. So they deserve car grant. But the way it is being dangled is that every time there's an important issue, the MCAs are called and the car grant is dangled, and the MCAs will comply, and then after that, it is not there. Sam, look at, for example, what happened when we had the division of revenue stalemate. None other than the president himself promised that there'll be an extra 56 billion that will go to the MCAs. I've had a peep into the supplementary budget that will be coming into Parliament next week, and that extra 56 billion is not there. And I think we are actually in a very serious situation in our country whereby we are actually, the leadership is lying to the other arm of leadership so as to get things done. And from where I sit, Sam, I think BPI is something that can actually wait. Telling people that you are going to get extra members of parliament. Yes, you will get extra members of parliament, you will get CDF, but at the end of the day, you will get an extra burden on the economy. If I were to be one of the drafters of the BBI, I would say let us distribute CDF based on population and poverty index within the constituencies so that those constituencies with fewer secondary schools and primary schools will get less money, and those constituencies with a higher population, maybe a bigger, smaller land mass but highly populated, should actually get more funding so that we can all have equity in the distribution of resources.
Okay, all right, Honorable Caleb Kositanyi, we want to take a short break, but when we return, we'll be diving into the conversation around the mountain task of what President Kenyatta was doing in Sagana over the weekend, of course, meeting delegations on a daily basis since Saturday, then Sunday, and of course yesterday, but also I think there was a meeting on Friday. And we'll be looking at that and the impact of that, but also of the voices that have been coming out from DP Ruto and the president on the political debt after the break.
Mimi haja yangu kubwa ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba tukitoka hapa tutakuwa tukiongea na sauti moja na tukiwa na mwelekeo mmoja.
Raisi ako paka 2022 na mbele yake tumeagana kwamba yeye ndio atatueleza ni wapi tunaenda. So tumekubaliana mtu yeyote anataka kuongea na Mount Kenya lazima he comes through Uhuru Kenyatta na hatujui mtu mwingine.
Debe ya BBI kwa sababu rais amefafanua kwamba pesa tunapata. Pia nafasi ya wanawake imetajwa na pia youth ama vijana wako ndani ya BBI kwa sababu hatutaki kila mwananchi wa Kenya achwe nyuma.
We have BBI is a document that supports our region, supports the development of our region, supports the development of the people of our region, and the reason we will support it is because we understand it is about our region, it's about our future. As regards the issue of who do you talk to in our region, we still have only one regional leader who is our president. We happen to have the benefit of having a regional leader as the president. If you want to talk to our region about politics, please go through the main door. Talk to the leader who we respect, talk to the leader who can actually be able to speak on behalf of other people.
Whoever was saying that the mountain is not speaking in one voice, you can clearly see that the mountain has spoken and unequivocally said that we are supporting BBI and we are supporting His Excellency the President, being the President of the Republic of Kenya, but also our leader in the region, and there is no question about it.
My message to those leaders who were not here, or those who have divergent opinion, normally the leaders go where the people are. I wish them to trace their thoughts, search their hearts, and also worry about the community and where it can be. In the unfortunate event, we are not united, because it is in the unity that we can be able to force anybody, whoever it is, because of the numbers we have, to the table. Now, the unfortunate bit is that if leaders go separate ways, that is not something you can achieve.
Those are various leaders, including President Kenyatta speaking after the Sagana meeting on Saturday. There, Mokamore is saying that leaders go where people are. And Speaker Kagushia, again, you come from that region. The meeting was happening in your county.
Yeah.
Where are the people? Because the president says what he wants is the region to speak together. The leaders there that are speaking are saying that it is very clear we have just one leader. But on the eve of that visit by the president, you saw a letter from 41 members of parliament, including Senator Mithika Linturi here, Veritas statements telling him that he has sort of failed the region and he needs to redeem his legacy. What do you make of that Sagana meeting? Does it now bring back the region to the president's hands?
Well, I think the president has been and is the leader of Mount Kenya region, apart from being also the president of the Republic of Kenya. And by him bringing together the people from his region to try and speak from the same page and with the same voice, really is commendable. It's a good thing. I was personally happy to have been engaged in that forum to try and reunite the region once again. However, I do have my reservations, which I had mentioned well before this forum happened, and I'm on record on the matter, that probably the way to go about it was not to engage only those people who are friendly to the leadership of His Excellency the President from the region. But my perspective and my very objective opinion would have been it were better for His Excellency the President to engage those members of parliament and senators and politicians who look like they are reading from a different page, and probably have a sitting with them and understand where they are coming from, and also in a way try to get to hear from them, and hopefully even close ranks with them. And that way it would have been better and easier to unite the mountain.
But is it possible? Because on the eve of...
Why is it not possible?
On the eve of his travel to Sagana, there was that letter, which you'll be showing some excerpts of it, written to the president, of course, accusing him that under his watch, the economy has gone down. So many business persons have had to close shop. And they're taking it to him.
Well,
is it possible to have an engagement? It's such a...
Well, I don't know to speak for those members of parliament who are rebelling at all, but again, I want to look at it from an outsider perspective, now that I'm not even one of those mainstream politicians. I would like to look at it from a different perspective. Maybe this letter would not have been written if these members of parliament were admitted to that forum, if they were invited to the forum. But I remember some of the very vocal politicians from our region, well ahead of this meeting, asking the president not to engage the rebel MPs, asking the president not to invite them, not to involve them. And when you look at where the problem is, in fact, it is these rebel MPs and senators who seem to be convincing people otherwise. And so it would probably be way better to engage them one-on-one and get to understand how can we resolve the discrepancies and the differences that we have in this region. So for me, if I was asked, if I was an advisor to His Excellency the President, I would advise that to be the approach. I would have advised that to be where we start from. And when then we are going to the Sagana State Lodge, then we are going there with members of parliament who are rebelling, now coming to the president's side. And I can tell you, with that, then you would have to move the same region or the whole of this region together. But if you leave them out, and they start watering down what His Excellency the President is saying, then it becomes very counterproductive. And so that is why, as a very objective analysis, I would find that maybe we did what is right, but did we use the correct approach in the matter? So I think it is we still have an opportunity to still engage and understand from those who are not, in the same basket as the thinking of His Excellency the President. And that will make the work much easier.
I can see Senator Linturi is itching to respond. But before you do so, let's listen to Senator Moses Kajwang. And of course, I'm sure you have had an opportunity to read the letter to the President, or at least take a look at the excerpts of it, including one that says that the new political turn in the conduct and practice of politics has left us disappointed and outraged. Our people are honorable people whose lives and livelihoods are based on honesty and trust. And of course, them saying that they cannot sell Raila Odinga in central Kenya. So when such a meeting is coming, at a time there is a letter from these 41 legislators, is it possible politically for a president to now invite everyone on board and have a conversation like one Speaker Kagushi is suggesting here? And how should a region such as Mount Kenya maneuver through such kind of tumultuous times? Senator, we can't hear you. Well, we'll make an attempt to get your audio so that we can bring you on board. But Senator Linturi, you're part of the people that wrote that letter to the President. Had you been invited, and why such strong language?
Number one, I think it's important to put it very plainly that we are not just individuals. We are leaders that have gone through serious vetting by the people of this country. And we have certain responsibilities and mandate. And since we have a community and constituencies that we represent, our greatest business as members of parliament is to articulate the issues with the powers that be and ensure there is adequate either legislation or contribution to whatever policy that is intended to cure or to address their problems. So when we got to know about this meeting, because we read it in the media, we could hear people talking about it, and then we consulted amongst ourselves and realized invitations had been sent. And actually how I got even to know about a message was forwarded to me by one of the members of the county assemblies from a place. So we got to, and then consulted others from Nyeri. We realized, yes, there were formal invitations to this meeting, and we had not been invited. And being the loyal supporters of President Uhuru Kenyatta, people that sacrificed their money, time, and strength to get him to office. And we felt it was only necessary for us to tell him what our position was or is, so that he will be able to address those particular issues. That is what culminated in that letter. And then when you look at that particular letter, I think the letter is very civil because we address him with a lot of respect. We have said we can only be faithful and honest to our conscience and the feelings of the people that we present. That's why we told him our priority right now is the pending bills that your government continually owes the people that give them service and supply goods. That's why we told them, if you really do not have an idea of you not being briefed by your people, look at the nation or the standard. There is 10 to 14 pages every day for people being, for property of Kenyans being put on notice for auction because they have not been able to pay their debts with the banks because the money that they used to supply your government was borrowed from banks. That we told him, then I told him, look, as you particularly do that, the great sons of Mount Kenya, like the Rwadian brothers who came to Nairobi and established business, and others are now getting back to the village because business has died. Those people, the Okas, Nigikomba, from Nyamakima, Taveta Road, right? Those boys are never there because your government declared
Senator,
them
you said that
so let me finish, please, this one. That's why I told them, even as we call us to Mount Kenya, to Sagana, remember, the Miraa economy, the Miraa market in Somalia and other areas is closed. And your government has not addressed this. And for that matter, the people represented in Meru continually wallow in poverty because their businesses are not working. So it is, I don't want to go to everything.
You say that your language was very civil, but even as you say that, there's somewhere you quoted as saying, our worry is that your cabinet does not heed your directives, or worse, that all along you were engaging in public relations with no intention to keep your word. That would appear like improper motive that you're...
You know, you also need some to understand the background. This is not the first time we've had meetings or had the president directing his ministers to ensure certain things are done. Certain things are done. And if we were to go back to history, you realize out of all those promises, nothing has been done. So we are wondering now, if you direct your cabinet, so like for example, I can ask you, there have been 3-4 meetings with different ministers for the Meru region that I still speak for, where they have given proposals or projects that have completely stalled or failed to take place, and they have been told, kindly do them. They've never been done. Right? You are called, you are being told, this is what we are doing. 1 year down the line, there is another there. You are called again, you are being told, the budget has already been passed and there are no provisions. We are only being, okay, if the one thing, depending on how it's interpreted, or the language, we are trying to be candid, honest, and truthful.
Okay.
Because, you know, the truth really hurts. And I think this is what is happening. Because we also do not want to lie to the president that everything else is okay. So, you know, if there's a choir that surrounds him, that only can only sing and dance for him because they don't want him to see the reality.
All right, Senator. Let me bring in Caleb Kositanyi, who is still on the line. And Honorable Kositanyi, so there are several people who have raised questions about that meeting in Sagana, some saying that it's sort of a tribal meeting, others accusing the president of going ethnic. But as you look at it, of course, it was coming at a time that he needed to respond to the concerns on the ground. Do you think it has helped to deal with them or actually made it worse, especially when you look at the 41 legislators who would appear allied to Deputy President William Ruto?
Well, Sam, I think I said this last week on this same particular show, that when you become president, you need to cede the tribal tag and stop being seen as a regional leader and become the symbol of unity that you should be. I think President Kenyatta has failed Kenyans on that point, for him having retreated and become a Kikuyu elder, or rather he's trying to be the Kikuyu kingpin. We voted for President Uhuru Kenyatta not because of his tribe, but because we have believed in his manifesto and the fact that he had teamed up with somebody else who has also a good track record, Honorable the Deputy President William Ruto. And that is how we see the President Uhuru Kenyatta as the President of the Republic of Kenya. On whether the meeting in Sagana has changed the narrative or changed the situation on the ground, I don't think so. Because when you call the converted and come and talk to the converted and come out of the meeting and say we have agreed to pass BBI, then you are really actually telling us nothing. It's just removing money from your left pocket and putting it in your right pocket, and you say, I have made money. I would have expected to see Honorable Senator Linturi there, Senator Mwaura there, Senator Kangata there, Honorable Gachagua, Honorable Rishungwa, Honorable Ndidi Nyoro, then come out from that meeting and say, we have changed our mind. We have decided we are going to support BBI because we have a meeting with the president. But
right, Honorable Kositany, let me just raise this question with you, because one wonders, even if you're to invite some of the 41 legislators into such meeting, what help would it be? What would it achieve if at all theirs is just to come and present the very strong views like in the letter?
You see, one issue, and by the time you find people are writing letters to the head of state and making them public, it actually clearly tells you there is a communication breakdown. One, it could be the head of state is inaccessible. Two, it could mean that if he is accessible, if you try and tell him the truth, he will throw tantrums and throw you out of State House or wherever the meeting would be. So the best option would be just to write letters and keep your safe distance. If I were President Uhuru Kenyatta, I would constantly, and I repeat, constantly engage leaders from all regions so that we don't have all this backlog of issues that are that keep coming up. And also some, I think, as has been put there by Honorable Linturi, it is that the president seems to want to listen to only the side that pleases him. And that is not a way to, the right way to lead a country. The president to listen to those who are for pro-BBI, those who are anti-BBI. He might pick something that he's not being told or he's not seeing from this other team, and he might actually be able to lead in a better way. So I think, first of all, the president should practice tolerance. Some of the utterances, I understand a bit of Kikuyu Sam, and some of the utterances at that meeting do not go well with our national unity and with the unity that the president keeps preaching about. It is very unfortunate that now our president is taking us back to the pre-Jubilee days when we formed Jubilee. One of the key pillars of Jubilee was that we wanted to get rid of tribal kings. This way, you must come to talk to me in order to penetrate, or rather to get votes in my region. And I dare say this, that in the Rift Valley, anybody is welcome anytime, day and night, to talk to the people of Rift Valley and seek their votes. And we will also assume, and not even assume, we will also traverse this Republic of Kenya, including Central Province. We will be visiting Central Province soon, and we were going to talk to the people, because the Constitution of Kenya says the people, the power lies with the people, and it is exercised by the leaders through the people. So we know the people of Mount Kenya have their votes in their pockets. They will make their own decision on who they want to vote for, and nobody should take that right away from them.
Right. Yet, Senator Linturi, part of your colleagues who spoke just a few minutes ago, said that anyone who wants to engage the region should go through President Kenyatta.
I don't agree with that. Let me tell you, we must get all this kind of politics of brokers. Because when the people of Mount Kenya are making decisions, you can only have built a character where we can be able to trust you and have confidence that you can never betray us. That is when probably I will be persuaded. I just want to ask you one thing, Sam, and anybody who is listening, including his advisors, because they must tell him what I'm saying here today. We cannot forget where we come from, even if we are national leaders. And I want to use the least basic example, because Mount Kenya is not only Kiambu or Nyeri or any other sub-county within that greater region. I looked on a very basic thing in Sagana, the musicians who are singing there. And it's Gema. Gema as the east, as the west. The Mount Kenya the Ngema Mount Kenya East as Meru, as Hembu, as the Rakanithi. There is no single musician that sang from Meru. No single group or musician that sang from Chuka or the Rakanithi or Embu. Yet we have the renowned Chuka drummers and everybody else. There are very many Wasanis. We only saw people, right, that came from one particular area. And then you want us, as a Mount Kenya people, or Meru, to personally sit down there and watch our people are being put into the guillotine. We have serious trust issues, and that is why I am opposed to that idea of telling us, if you have to get Mount Kenya votes, then you must go through here. We've had a government that I fought for, that I supported 8 years down the line. The Merus today, where I come from as a county, have over 100 projects incomplete and not funded. So when you want to tell me, anybody else, I must surrender my faith to an individual whose time, who I respect, and whose expiring date is known. And out when he was at the level of leadership, the term of the president expires on 8th August 2022. And if the BBI is to change the constitution to give them an extension, right, then we address that if that is the intention. Because you can reincarnate yourself through other forms. So that I'm only trying to explain to you why I don't agree with that position, because it is during this particular time when we have our home that we personally trust and that we have become more poorer. Our people are crying day and night. And if you want to see, and why I should also warn the members of parliament that are giving ultimatums to us. When you have a crowd that has been paid to get into Sagana, given 5,000 shillings to cheer you up, you don't expect any discontent, you don't expect any different voice. And if you want to exactly know whether those people were persuaded, look at the BBI copies that was thrown over around Sagana and what people were saying thereafter. It is not true. We must tell Uhuru Kenyatta the truth because he's our friend. We fought for him. I have been his member of parliament since I joined parliament as a Kano member of parliament. I have never gone without supporting him. But in this case, in this one now, we cannot agree until I'm persuaded and listens to me that have also a mind and have authority from people to tell him the truth. But when you want to condemn me for saying this is what is happening, we will not agree.
All right, Senator, and I'm looking at the number of people that signed those letters. There were 41 of them from 11 counties, including 8 from Meru, 5 from Nakuru, Nyandarua 2, Murang'a 3, Nyeri 2, Nairobi 3, 5 Embu, 4 from the Rakanithi, and 4 Kiambu, and 3 Kirinyaga and Laikipia 2. Some of them having also the senators of their counties, like your county, which is in Meru. But all the same, Senator Kajwang, so you look at all this contestation, are you convinced that the challenges that the leaders say their region is experiencing, are they unique to Mount Kenya, or are they cutting across the country? And what do you think would be the best solution out of such a situation where the president has now to hold meetings to meet with the leaders in his region, but you have 41 legislators writing to you and dismissing your whatever stand you have?
Sam, thank you. I was trying to say much earlier that localizing this debate to be the gains or losses for central Kenya is to make a fool of the rest of Kenyans and the rest of the regions in this republic. I think we are seeing some extremely bad manners when some leaders believe that anything that comes from the presidency should only benefit one region. If you look at the tone of the first letter that was addressed to the president, I'm not talking about the Kangata letter, but the second letter that was sent by the people who said they had not been invited to the event, all the issues that they raised were issues that were very local and very basic. Now, they have a right to talk about local and basic issues because they are elected to represent those local issues. But when they address them to the president, who is the head of state and the symbol of national unity, and create the impression that the president's first obligation must be to ensure that the central region is full before the other areas get anything, that one is to bastardize the presidency and to reduce the president into a tribal chief. Now, something you discussed earlier, and my friend Mithika discussed it with a lot of passion, the role of MCAs in this process. And I know you also posed the question whether the central region is benefiting more from the BBI than other regions. There was the clarion call that was started by people like Moses Kuria, Ndindi Nyoro, and several other leaders from central Kenya. It was called the 1 man, 1 shilling principle. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. When we were caught up the revenue debate in the Senate, it was because there are those who felt that we should go for the 1 man, 1 shilling principle rather than looking at marginalized areas and giving them more money. And you do recall in the Senate, in the revenue debate, the 1 man, 1 shilling principle is the one that carried the day. In the BBI draft, we have further entrenched the 1 man, 1 shilling principle because you are saying that the formula for revenue allocation shall pay due regard to population and such other things. Now, move to the 1 man, 1 vote principle. We have added 70 additional constituencies to ensure that there is parity in representation. The region that came up with the 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote principle, all these principles have been encapsulated in this BBI draft. But the reason why the people of Nyanza and other parts of the country will be willing to support the BBI drive is because we are saying we're going to strengthen devolution further. When the deputy president says that we have not been able to achieve the 15% that we have currently put in the constitution, it's like him telling us that we need to discard our national anthem because our national anthem says, may we dwell in unity, peace, and liberty. We have never dwelt in unity since independence. Are we going to trash our national anthem? The constitution sets out principles, and it now falls upon statute and those of us in elected positions to ensure that those principles are observed. My brother Mithika, when you have 70 additional members in the National Assembly, and you see that they are skewed in terms of the regions where they come from, these are the people who are going to determine who is going to become the Prime Minister in the National Assembly. These are the people who are going to be instrumental in approving those people who become cabinet secretaries or ministers. And that past that you talk about so romantically, where you are able to hold to account ministers, where you are able to impeach ministers in the National Assembly, it is that situation that the BBI wants to bring back. We want to have ministers sitting in the House accountable to the people through elected representatives. And so, Sam, I think even the members of county assembly, even if I move away from the benefits in the National Assembly, if you look at the county assembly, there are enough benefits in the BBI that nobody has to be bribed with a car grant. Nobody has to be bribed with a mortgage. From the 35% going to counties, from the Ward Development Fund, from the provision that a member of county assembly can become a chief executive in the county government. All these are benefits that MCAs are alive to. And I've just come from Homa Bay, and I've talked to my MCAs, and they've told me they are going to pass the BPI draft, and because it has got benefits that they've been clamoring for, they are going to pass it with or without the car grant. The car grant, I believe, is an administrative issue that can be dealt with outside the parameters of the current BPI today.
Right, and I want us to move to the next topic, but before we do so, Speaker Kagusha, or rather Caleb Kositanyi, so now when you have a leadership, because look, you were saying that you didn't see the likes of Isaac Mora at that event, but you have heard of what Senator Mora spoke about. I think he was in Msambweni, speaking against the president and his family on their role in the presidency. You have so many other leaders that have spoken several things against you. I mean, as a president, what are you supposed to do? How are you supposed to deal with such sort of, is it ridicule or sort of sentiments that are said in public, yet these are the same leaders that are supposed to sit down with? How are you supposed to deal with that?
Well, as a president, you are meant to actually to call them and sit down with them and say, hey guys, what is ailing you? Why are you speaking the way you're speaking? Why are you being so aggressive and abrasive? And that is leadership. We are elected into positions whereby we lead those who support us and those who didn't, those who voted for us and those who didn't vote for us. Some of them use very strong language against us, but we do not cause them harm or try and intimidate them, but instead we try and win them over. What the president should do now that he has finished with the Sagana meeting, I think the group of 41 members of parliament who wrote the second letter to him, he should now call them and have a conversation with them and tell them, guys, what are your issues?
Okay.
What are these issues that this other group is not telling me? And seems to be agitating you guys, so that he can listen to both sides, and that is leadership. They are not, definitely the 41 members of parliament who wrote that letter are not President Uhuru Kenyatta's enemies. They could actually be his best friends. They could be the people who have are more concerned about him succeeding than those who just want to be yes men. And as the clock winds to the term limit expiry of the term of Uhuru's presidency. So I think it is important that the president agrees that not all of us can agree on everything that he likes, but we also need to be heard. We also need to have our voices recorded so that he can actually judge from what he was told by the yes people and what is being told by those who are having a reserved opinion.
All right, Caleb Poseta, you said that none of those 41 is an enemy of the president, but you know where their political allegiance is. At least for a majority of them, they have publicly expressed their support for Deputy President William Ruto. And that's what I want us to talk about by first listening to the president who, for the first time, has spoken about the agenda, the political agenda of DP Ruto. Listen.
Na sisi ndio tunajua shida ya vijana. Nitakupatia wheelbarrow. Nani alikwambia kijana anataka wheelbarrow? Anataka kazi. Anataka kujitegemea. Anataka kujisimamia.
All right, so he's there speaking about wheelbarrow politics and what he thinks the young people want. But I also want us to listen to what Deputy President William Ruto has been speaking about, and that is specifically on the political debt. You may recall that during the campaigns of 2017, you may have heard the president say that wale wengine wangojeni malize yangu 10, alafu ya William 10, alafu sasa baada ya hapo watazungumza. So let's listen to what the Deputy President is saying. And as far as that political promise, we'll get that. But when it gets here, Speaker Kagusha, that the president, well, I am told that you now have Deputy President's voice. Let's listen to what he said.
Alisema ya kwamba atapata nafasi yake ya miaka 10 na nafasi ya miaka 10 ya William Ruto. Hiyo ni maneno sikumuuliza rais, na sitaki mtu amsumbue rais kwamba alisema. Hiyo ni maneno ilisemekana wakati huo, na sisi wote ni watu wazima. Tuachane na hiyo maneno, kwa sababu mimi haikukuwa deni nilimuuliza rais, na sikumwambia aseme. Ni yeye kwa hiari yake alisema wakati huo. Na ndio mimi sitaki mtu aende asumbuane na rais kusema mbona ulisema. Tuachane na hiyo, kwa sababu mimi sikumuuliza aseme, na mimi sijamdai. Mumesikia mahali mimi nimesema rais anilipe deni yangu. So hii biashara ya kuzungumza madeni all over the place ni ya nini?
So those are the two leaders. Of course, they were elected on a joint ticket, and now they are practically reading from different scripts. And Speaker Kagusha, what more are we to see in this presidency?
It's as I said, when we began, it's bare knuckles, and all of them, the political leaders, seem to be all preparing for political succession, and really that is what is at stake here. And as you can see, one of the newspapers actually talking about the wooing of the young people, because young people today, they are quite a number, and they require opportunities. I've heard Raila Odinga say that the BBI is creating youth fund, which really I think that was a bit misplaced, because the youth fund exists. It's not being created by the BBI. But I think what Raila Odinga is trying to say is that there will be more opportunities for the young people, hopefully in the BBI. And of course, His Excellency the President has also said that young people do not require wheelbarrows, and what they require is opportunities. And I think that really is what every other political leader is trying to sell to the young people, about hope, about opportunities, and about how they can be able to better their life going forward. And so what we are likely to see as we move forward is that the young people are going to be much, much more important in the political context that we are experiencing today. The only thing which I think we need to think seriously about is how to go about it, the strategy to use. Because young people today are not likely to be influenced by the traditional influencers that influenced political opinion in the past. And probably that's where some of the political leaders are getting it wrong, that we will wait at some point and we will use certain individuals to come and influence the voting bloc in certain areas. Young people today are being influenced through what they are going through in the social media on a daily basis. By the time you are closing the day, young people have already kind of made up their mind on certain issues. And you can't have another person coming tomorrow to influence them in another angle or in another way. So I think, really to be fair, I think that is how the Deputy President has managed to pull the carpet under the feet of other political leaders in the country. And you know, it's, it's very interesting that a lot of political leaders have thought they are going to kind of change the tide at some point. But the technology that we are using today changes the whole perspective from how we did politics yesterday, from how politics was done before. And so I would want political leaders who truly think they want to have political power in 2022 to rethink their approach, to rethink how they're engaging the public, and particularly the young people. And why are the young people buying hope? It's because of a lack of opportunities that we have in the country. It's because a lot of young people today are well educated, but they do not seem to be getting employment and opportunities for their own progress.
Right.
And that really has become a very serious political issue. And so as we move forward, we expect to see more of that perspective of our politics. Yeah, but again, I would also want to say, and then you told me I'm a bit ambitious, but even in my ambition, I want to say that so long as the president and the deputy president read from different scripts, and so long as they continue to be engaging gloves off, as we are seeing today, that we can only have higher temperatures of political engagement in this country. And so it's important that they cool down the temperatures by engaging probably in a more modest manner, to still be cautious as they have been before, and not to come out guns blazing on each other. Because once they do that, that has a way of creating much more serious discord in this country than the discord we probably had between the two handshake partners.
You talk about cooling the temperatures. I don't know whether it is any necessary. Senator Linturi will be responding to that. But first, let's listen to one Deputy President William Ruto respond to some voice that we were told that he had been criticized for defending Jubilee projects while at the same time campaigning for himself. Listen.
I defend the Jubilee track record, and which I will continue to defend. And on all the other things this administration is undertaking, I am defending the Jubilee track record from whatever place, including on top of cars, because we were elected jointly with President Uhuru Kenyatta, and we have that debt to pay to the people of Kenya.
Senator Linturi, is there any working relationship left between the president and his deputy?
I think there has been and there is. And we shouldn't read so much on what probably they are trying to bring out to the public. To me, I think they are very being dishonest to one another. And why I've taken a position that I must always be telling each one of them the truth by whichever way, whether it's on TV or wherever, is because they must understand the standards of judgment by Kenyans are higher than anyone in this country. So when you want to engage us in this kind of debate, when you do not understand that you have a serious duty to ensure that you give hope to this country, to ensure that this country remains united, to ensure that you address the problems that are facing our people, then the two of you I think if it's prayer that you require, then send us to the church. And I am very convinced and very persuaded because being followers or supporters of people and government does not deprive you your right of speaking your mind. Right of expression, in my view, is very clear, is very clear, because that's how you vent whatever is in you, and so that situations become lighter. So I want to confirm that even as we write to the president, the only matter that the president brings for debate as a government proposed legislation, I support it if it has merit. If anything comes that I don't agree with and I'm not persuaded, just like I voted against the increase of the public debt, despite interventions from the executive, I refused because my mind was so clear that when you expand that public debt and the Constitution providing for the first change on our revenues as public debt, we will diminish the revenues that are supposed to be shared to the counties, and for that matter, very little money or none at all will get to the counties. So it's about my persuasion, my belief, and what I read the law to be providing for. So we want to ask them, let us be honest. Let us be faithful to the Constitution and the law, because you cannot cheat people all the time.
So who is not honest? Who is not faithful? Is it
I
the
think they
president
are all
or the
very
deputy?
dishonest amongst themselves.
But you support one of them?
Yeah?
You support one of them?
Depends on what position. You know, like even when I see them arraigning people in Sagana and talking, demonizing everybody, who said, or have you ever heard me talk about saying we are not in support of BBI or we are supporting BBI? Nobody. So the only opportunity that you find these things happening is because these characters that I said is just a choir wants an opportunity to create a situation where to be them versus us and get an opportunity to rent treasury. Rent the treasury, get money to run out there telling Kenyans, these people are opposed to the BBI, right? But, you know, when the deputy president addressed the people in Bomas, he said we can have consensus. And that is what we've been talking about, because the probability of creating division in a country through a referendum is so huge. The potential of splitting Kenya and losing the whole intention of BBI of bringing the country together is so high. So, all right, let reason prevail.
Right, Senator, I want us to start winding up, but Caleb Kositanyi, you know, this country has just one president, but there appears like people have very different views on how the president should be governing the country, telling him on a daily basis, telling him that he should be meeting so and so, he should not meet so and so because they are being dishonest with him. Is there anything achievable in the remaining period? I might have asked this question to you previously, but now with the deputy president and the president speaking to the public, attacking each other, is there anything achievable between now and August 2022?
Well, as they say in politics, there are no permanent friends and no permanent enemies. I think there is a lot that can be still achieved from the two working together. But I would like to say that it is now out there in the open that all along the issues and the problems that the deputy president has been going through were definitely coming from the president himself. It is now that maybe the president has got frustrated by the agents that he had sent to bring down the deputy president. They have not been able to succeed, that he has now come out himself to actually speak directly against the deputy president. And I would like to say that I support the deputy president on what he said. We have never, and I have never even sat in a discussion whereby we have discussed that the president owes us or owes the deputy president a handover of the presidency because of the support he gave him in 2013 and 2017, and even in 2002 when we supported him and ended up in the opposition. I think those were the words uttered by His Excellency the President himself, under no coercion, no intimidation, no prompting by anybody. And if he wants to take back those words, he owes us no explanation. He should not be annoyed with anybody because those were his own words. And I'd like to say this, Sam, for the record. The sovereignty of the people stands supreme. the people of Kenya are the supreme one. Oops.
Well, we appear to have lost one Honorable Kositanyi, but Senator Kajwang, so again, a president who receives counsel from everyone, whether solicited or unsolicited. Then you see the question of a Jubilee administration that came into power, of course, through ethnic healing platform. And now they are where they are some 8 years down the line. What lessons do we pick and what must we avoid in 2022 so that we do not fall into the trap of political fights, especially at the top?
Sam, I've consistently said we need to fix our politics. Right now, and I've heard the speaker talk about the youth. What do the youth want? And I can tell you, irrespective of whether the young man comes from Bita or Mandera or Lagdera, what the youth want are jobs, they want security, they want freedom. We must create an enabling environment for realization of those targets and goals for our young people. Now, we have a presidency who is, that is winding down. In fact, this is usually the period where a presidency is called lame duck. President Uhuru finds himself at the end of his tenure with very little to show and with a very disloyal deputy president trying to scramble for 2 years just to make sure that he leaves behind a legacy. Now, you talked about the manifesto that Jubilee had at the beginning. It was supposed to heal the nation. It was supposed to build a nation. It was premised on implementation of the TJRC report. Do you know why the TJRC report has never been implemented? Because Aden Duale was leader of majority in the National Assembly. He never accepted the TJRC report to be brought to Parliament. As a result, historical officers are yet to be dealt with conclusively. In the second term, the president
Well, unfortunately, again, we have challenges hearing Senator Kajwang, and you're coming to the tail end of the show. I just wanted us to look at some of the feedback that has been coming through.
I've said the last thing, please, Sam.
Yes, Senators, wait for the feedback.
Yes. I just want to, as I wind up, saying that, yes, we have a problem, especially in the Mount Kenya region. And I want to also correct Kajwang that the deputy president is very loyal. I've never seen such a loyal man. And tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, this is your house. Mount Kenya is your...
What does loyalty mean to you, if you say that the deputy president is loyal?
I just want to tell him that loyalty and sacrifice are different. In terms of defending the Jubilee agenda and the work that President Kenyatta is doing, is at the forefront, and he has always permanently advised us the best thing that we can do. The president is the symbol of national unity, and we must support this cause. But where the president is wrong, we have said we will have to always tell you. He never told us to write to him, so we send it. And this is why I'm asking, give me 1 minute to also advise, because I have not had an opportunity to advise him on anything else, and especially with the Sagana meeting. And I only take maybe less than a minute. That, Mr. President, we love you as the people of Mount Kenya. We respect you. You are our king, you are our leader, and a true leader from that region. But I want to really kindly, with a lot of respect and humility, remind you the problem that you find yourself in the Mount Kenya is because you have been an absentee father. And being an absentee father, now you are waking up to the reality of parental irresponsibility. And what has happened is a man has come to your homestead and has taken your daughter without his consent, because you allowed him to do exactly that. And now that the daughter is in love and is pregnant, the best thing to do is to accept the bride, the groom, with humility, because the daughter is already pregnant and is in love.
No, well, I don't know, maybe the bride price also need to be paid, and heavily so. But what TJ Kajwang forgot to say is that he talked of lame duck presidency, a disloyal deputy. He also forgot to say a moribund opposition. an opposition that is not working, an opposition that has also abdicated its duty. And I think as a country, we also need to look at it that way, because if we have an opposition that is working, there are very many things that probably would also go right. And when I say opposition working, I don't mean an opposition that is just criticizing and trying to pull down the president like it has happened before. I'm talking of a constructive opposition that is helping us to point out things and areas of improvement. For example, like areas where Senator Linturi talked about in Parliament, that Parliament is dead, that reports do not come out as they should in the oversight body and agency. You know, if we have an opposition that is right, an opposition that is active, then at that point you expect them to put their foot down and do the right thing. And that way the Kenyan people benefit more, and we have progress which is tangible and that can help us to propel this country to higher economic growth and political stability.
Right. I don't know why you love to use the analogy of marriage or girls' daughters, because the president also said that anybody who wants to woo the Mount Kenya region has to go through the main door or the main gate. Let them not use the windows. But let's take a look at some of the feedback coming through. Kiprono Abraham, if MCAs will support BBI because they have been enticed with car grants, what will other Kenyans be enticed with in order to support? Uhuru will not be able to buy cars, but can buy them small cars or wheelbarrows. Well, that's Kiprono. General Lazaro is saying that it's now evident BBI is what President Kenyatta is planning to leave as his legacy, not Raila tactical maneuvers as Tanga adherents propaganda. They have the right to oppose. Let them take one common known stand. Engineer Lazaro, then Jacob Obere, you say point of information to Caleb Kositanyi on absence of the likes of Mauras and Geshagwa. On record, those 41 unwanted Sagana visitors aren't on good record with Uhuru Kenyatta. If they were to be given opportunity to attend, they would have seen Ongeona, I think that's what you mean. Bobo Tieno, President Uhuru and Deputy President William Ruto aren't in turmoil. They are only playing political games against Raila Odinga for his easier running of his last term. How true is that? Nahashan, you said that we shifted our education system to white-collar jobs after 1963. We forgot hustles by Wananchi. We thought of employment as office jobs, especially with government. We tried to correct this mistake with 844 but failed. Even today, we don't understand grassroots, the hustles, and wheelbarrows. Nahashan, it appears that 58 years on, we still don't understand what we need to do to fix the country. But whatever it is, be sure that as a citizen, you're the center of it. Make your choices, make your determination, read, understand, and make that choice. My name is Sam Gituku. Up next is Sporty Monday with Ulis Raburu and his team. Thank you so much, Senators Linturi, Senator Juan Moses Kajwang, Honorable Kositanyi, and Speaker Kagusha for making time for us. See you again tomorrow.
Thank you.